I have a background in a lot more traditional media, like oils, watercolor. My main medium is actually encaustic wax. So all very, very physical media. It looks a lot like coral, actually. And so it's really great for creating sort of seascapes and these beautiful sort of abstract coral patterns with it. And then I found Tilt Brush because I got a headset. As soon as I got it, I immediately wanted to try Tilt Brush. I really wanted to try, this VR painting because it's something I've been wanting to try, just to see what I could create with it, just to see what it would do. I was burning up with curiosity to see, to try it. I sort of played around a little bit, and then, gosh, it was probably not long after, maybe a few days, a friend of ours sent me the application for BRC VR, and I just fell in love with it. I love how you can create like these highly narrative pieces that you can experience 360, very immersive, and it's almost like it's more like sculpting. It's more like building sort of like sculptural pieces that you can walk inside of and experience. I'm very much inspired by the fairy tales and fantasy and fables and things like that. I guess it sort of has those psychedelic sort of like overtones without being sort of like an overtly psychedelic experience, if that makes sense. I remember when I was a kid, we used to go pick our own mushrooms, and I remember taking about 100 liberty cats and then just staring at a wall and seeing these like fractal patterns coming out of like a wall. So you could stare at any object and it would become endlessly fascinating visually. It's also what happens when you dream as well. Like you'll see an object in a dream, it could be an everyday object, it could be, a person, but their presence in the dream will have some kind of symbolic meaning to you in the dream, and your subconscious is trying to sort of talk to you through these symbols, these objects. One of the things I've enjoyed the most about creating these spaces is, just people's like their childlike wonder, like, oh, that's so cool, let's go over here, oh, this is really cool. It's just sort of like, we can, in these spaces, in these virtual environments, we can sort of become like children again.
My wish is to manifest as much magic as possible to undo the bad in the world.
That's a good one.
Pretty cool. So welcome back, everyone, to the 2021 Miami Science Fiction Film Festival virtual production track. We have Miss Hazel here, and if you guys remember, she is a alumni now. She originally came to our first virtual production XR tech track 2 years ago when we started this, and she's the original concept creator for the concept of creating virtual worlds for sci-fi filmmaking. So, Miss Hazel, welcome. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be back, even if it's in virtual format.
Yeah. So Hazel, let's jump into. Let's see if I can make you the big one here. It's either way, that's fine. Yeah. So it's I know you've been super busy. I mean, you've really you really ran with your concept of virtual world. So can you talk to us about your craft? I know you talked about you briefly about your painting, but I mean, seriously, guys, if you don't already follow Hazel, you should. Like the first time I met her, she's talking about creating portals into her paintings, and well, let's ask Hazel to explain her own work rather than me speaking for her.
So yeah, since the last time I spoke at the film festival, I guess my work has really sort of gone into that area and into that concept itself in sort of quite a big way. When I got the opportunity to make actual virtual worlds and environments for Burning Man last year, And actually, that was the first time I was properly creating in VR myself. And I just sort of let my imagination sort of take off and sort of just create these spaces where people could sort of just hang out and just experience something. They were all made in tilt brush actually, and then uploaded to Altspace. And some of them are fully immersive, like just little worlds in their own right, and some are more like sort of like virtual light sculptures. The worlds themselves, I find the creation of them quite fascinating because you can say a lot just with what you're constructing. So you can sort of embed a narrative into the world itself. So as soon as people sort of portal into it, they know what it's about. They have an immediate feeling for what it's about, what they're supposed to feel. So mine usually have some sort of element of mysticism and sort of fantasy, that kind of thing. And you can convey all of that just with this immersive experience. You don't really have to say anything to the person experiencing it. So that's a really fascinating way to create, is to present that experience to people.
Sure. Yeah. And I know you've been to the festival in person before, and now it's virtual. So how has, like, your experience in this era of COVID lockdown, either enhanced or affected the way your original idea of creating virtual worlds for sci-fi?
Honestly, I think it's enhanced it because it's just made the whole idea a lot more relevant. Because people are really thirsting for stimulation, for experience, especially sort of an emotional experience. And these virtual environments give people the opportunity to meet with other people. And you're meeting with other people, like, obviously you're in an avatar, other people are in their avatar, but you still have this sort of empathic sense when you speak to someone else in virtual reality. And even though it's just an avatar, you still have, yeah, this empathic sort of intuition for the interaction. And that's something really great about virtual reality, is that we're sort of getting that sense of empathy back, which is something that we might be losing, in 2D format. So having that, I think, is really, to people who've been able to access these virtual environments, I think it's been very helpful in getting people through this time, because a lot of people haven't been able to interact face to face for most of this year, I'd say. So I think it's a very helpful tool for that.
So we have another guest to talk to you about your your Burning Man experience. So let's introduce. He was on the stream earlier. So if you guys remember, well, Paul, he had a separate interview. If you guys are watching these videos in order, or not in order, go watch Paul's virtual interview also. But both Paul and Hazel both worked on Burning Man this summer, virtual environment. So we played Paul's virtual experiences that they made for Burning Man. So let's play Hazel's now, and then Paul and Hazel can riff about how they connected virtually, between how they created virtual worlds separately, but then how they were all part of the same virtual brand umbrella, a virtual Burning Man umbrella. So here's Hazel's. Here. Oh, that's not rated. Let's remove that. So you guys were, yeah, great job. That was amazing. Like the thing that
The filmmaker who made this is give him a follow on YouTube. He's pretty amazing. You might want to interview him for future productions actually.
sure, yeah,
So
if you want
yeah.
to mention
Yeah.
mention who it is. What's his name?
Abhijit Maji. Am I
Okay.
saying that right?
Yeah, we can put it in the link in the
Yeah,
description.
definitely
So,
give him some credits for that because he did an
sure.
amazing job filming that.
Cool. So for the people who watched Paul's interview earlier, his Burning Man, and seeing Hazel's now, you see there's definitely a difference even in the point of view and how it's in obviously in the presentation where it seemed like Paul, yours was third person, and you're talking about the interacting with other people. Well, Hazel's is definitely the first person. You're immersed in a virtual world. So, and I think even in the marketing I saw for your different universes too, Hazel, you're talking about creating your own virtual world, and Paul, it seemed like it was more of a collaboration experience. But you guys will feel free to unmute yourself, Paul, and so maybe you can introduce yourself again, and for people who missed your interview, just watching this directly.
Sure. My name is Paul Bronstein. I took part of this amazing experiment last year to create a Burning Man virtual reality world. And we were one of the 7 universes. We were called MetaBurn. And it was more of, yes, a collaboration tool to interact and feel like you're in Burning Man, but with that fantasious type of aspect. And, it was really an interesting experiment because there's other universes, as you see with Hazel. So it was interesting seeing all the variations of what people feel Burning Man is about. And it was great. It was honestly a very memorable experience.
Sure.
And it's awesome. And I noticed in that video, you did a lot of those drawings with in 3D with a 3D tool like Toprush, right?
Yeah, so it's automatically it's basically more like sculpting. So every time you paint in tilt brush, you're making like a 3-dimensional object basically.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you have to sort of change your thinking because if you're used to painting in 2D, you have to really sort of switch up your thinking to create in 3D rather than 2D. So you have to make that shift, and it's an interesting process making that change from 2D to 3D.
That's interesting. How would you say, for example, for a sci-fi kind of genre, how would you see that, how would you sculpt a world for a sci-fi event or something like that?
For augmented reality or virtual reality?
Whichever method, I guess with virtual reality, since we're talking about virtual reality.
So I would probably employ a similar method. I would start with a concept because I always start with an overall concept of what I want to say, and then I articulate it through the sculpting, the objects that I want to place there, the color theme, all of that kind of thing. So with that one, the concept was the idea of the world tree from Norse mythology, Yggdrasil. So Yggdrasil was sort of like this.
Is this the tree right here, or?
In my piece, I turned it into more like an actual forest with a river running through it. But I took the concept from the tree, and it's a tree that holds 9 worlds, and it's sort of like this sort of in between sort of axis that holds all of these worlds together. And I wanted to bring that concept into this particular piece because I also had the concept of the multiverse in mind. So that obviously was a really good fit for the general concept of multiverse.
And I like how you have the cowboy hat to keep it the virtual Burning Man.
That's actually the filmmaker who's like going
Okay.
through that world right now.
Oh, so you create the world and you're filming someone else using your world.
Yeah, someone else's,
Oh.
that's someone else's avatar. So yeah, it's very what's that Stephen King story? The Gunslinger, because have you ever read that series, The Gunslinger by Stephen King?
No, can you tell us what it is?
Oh, it's probably some of his best work. It's also been made into a film. It's a series of 7 books, and it has a theme of the multiverse. Actually, it's about all these different parallel worlds that you can sort of portal in and out of. And he's literally a cowboy. He's a gunslinger in his world, and he teams up with people from our world. And there is this, I think it's like there's this flower, this rose in a parking lot that has to be saved because it basically is holding the universe together. And if this rose doesn't get saved, the universe starts to collapse. So it's about literally sort of saving the universe, and people collaborating with people from, different worlds, so parallel worlds.
I heard about that a theory that's really the Stephen King multiverse, because that it connects all his stories using that character in a way. So really,
it actually does, because all of the negative or evil entities that appear in that story are kind of like they're sort of a composite of all of his monsters that he has in all of his other stories. And it's fascinating. It's such a good series.
So I think that brings us to the next point. The concept you see here, it's called multiverse. So Paul and Hazel created 2 of the verses of this overall Burning Man multiverse, and they were connected. They were connected. So maybe you guys can talk about how they're connected. But I think I had a pretty unique perspective amongst that group, because I was involved in 3 of the 8 of the verses. And I noticed that, like, for example, you guys know Kevin Winston from Digital LA, a long time collaborator from Miami Sci-Fi, especially our game jams, where he was involved in a verse that was based in Germany and London. And we did like I dressed up as Pac Pravi, right? If you guys can see, we had the green screen and giant Pac-Man and everything, and we had, we had to act like Pac-Man, right? And then for Paul's verse, I was Elf Pravi, like DJ Elf Pravi. I had the elf ears, and I created augmented reality hummingbirds coming at me through Paul's and V's their 3D scan Mayan pyramids that they did with drones. That you will watch a V's interview earlier or later, show how she did that, created the virtual Burning Man experience in Maya times. And then for BCVR, Hazel's, it was like using like alt space and coming into Hazel's virtual world, which I'm familiar with her artwork, but now it was within the Burning Man experience. So she definitely, she respected the theme, right? So maybe you guys can talk about that too. Is how do different like creators, how do they collaborate like this, or how did you guys do it successfully? And what advice do you have for them, where you guys create shared experiences but working independently in this new genre of creativity?
I think starting off with a common theme is always a good starting point. So everybody's going to have their own interpretation, and everybody brings their unique perspective and interpretation to the collaboration, which is always so fascinating to see so many different perspectives on the same theme.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
Yeah. So Hazel, were you aware of the other verses, or did you was
I was aware of them. I wasn't sure how many there were, and like how big this multiverse actually was, because I know that within BCVR there was like tons of different portals going to different worlds. I wasn't sure if that was the extent of it, but then I found out that there was sort of more outside of BCVR.
So that's actually a good point, because I think like sorry, Paul, I'll give you just 1 second. Like, you saw the end node here for the video was, the next video was supposed to be playing was the principles of Burning Man, right? So did you just create based upon the principles and then hope that all the other creators will also follow the same principles, and then you guys did it that way? I guess it sounds like, if you didn't have the actual direct connection between the other creators, but you're all coding to the same
They
theme.
had like a website, I believe, for that has all the descriptions of the experiences of the 7 universes, and they also had like what is it called? They had a website dedicated just for this type of virtual kind of multiverse, and basically you would log in the website and it would show you the 7 experiences, a description and a link, and some of them were downloadable, some of them were web experiences, and for the creators it was really the first time where you could search and see what was being hosted in the 7 days of Burning Man. Sure. And it was really interesting, even going into Outspace and seeing, like, for example, Hazel's experience. You could have a video there that would connect you to a YouTube page that could be the same stream that could go to our, for example, universe, metaburn.org, which would be a website itself. So it was like, I think that it's really kind of a new concept where you have these different environments and worlds, and what connects us is really Burning Man. It's the universe, So, right.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. Like you said, like the interconnectedness. Like you could put like a link, like you said, to a YouTube video or drop a portal to another world, and it's becoming easier and easier to connect different experiences like that.
Sure. And then the other thing that you two have in common is you're very much in the forefront of this NFT movement, where creating like crypto art, and this is the first year that we're actually accepting crypto Bitcoin to buy festival passes. So definitely, if you guys want to talk about your history with NFTs and how you basically created this 3D art and made them NFTs, go ahead.
Sure. Around that time, we were learning about the concept of non-fungible tokens. And, for us, Burning Man was almost like a revelation of art, of what it is to be an artist during a lockdown. And we kind of, our mission was really to incentivize the artists and the burners and say, how can we create stuff in 3D worlds and be able to live off it and help each other out and make a living. So, in that spirit, we went on to really understand that. How can we create 3D assets, and how can we populate worlds, and how do we make it something that can help people out in that way? So, we want to continue that and see how with the art community we can create these worlds and these environments and experiences and give it that wearable value that can, grow over time and not only populate virtual worlds, but give people a living with, hopefully with cryptocurrencies or, with any
and then
type.
How does that, so basically, do you think filmmakers could use that to fund their projects?
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, I think that the sky, it's cliche, the sky is the limit, because it's all about imagination. You can create whatever you want, and if people see it as something valuable, then, good for you. You're gonna benefit off it, and the world will see your creation come alive. So I think it's great.
And Hazel, how did you what's your experience in crypto? I know you have a lot to say.
Actually, I'm pretty new to the NFT space itself. I mean, I've been in crypto for a while, but the NFT space itself, I'm just now starting to realize the possibilities for it, and what you can really do. Like now, I think a lot of platforms have the capability of having unlockable content. So you might have an augmented reality experience, a video, or maybe an insight into your private practice, like maybe a studio tour, or maybe some video of you creating the piece. So once somebody purchases either the unlockable item, or maybe you want to give the unlockable item in addition to the piece they purchased, then the unlocked item will be a link or a video that they can download, which is great because it just really personalizes it. you know, it personalizes that the art buying process. And you know, like you were saying, like anything can be tokenized. It can be an article, it can be a video, it can be an image, it can be pretty much anything. And there's also the possibility for artists to collect royalties on their pieces as well if the piece gets resold. So I think that's one of the major game changers in this space. For me personally, I just wanted to find a way to be able to monetize my VR creations, VR and AR creations. So having a platform where I could easily tokenize like an augmented reality experience. So what I can do, I can make something in Tilt Brush and that can become its, you know, its virtual reality. But I can also turn that same piece into an augmented reality experience. And I can also create a video of that piece too. So I can give people multiple experiences around the same piece or around the same concept and turn it into an entire collection. So I'll make one piece, say in virtual reality, and then I'll break it up into multiple experiences. So it's very versatile what you can do with it.
Yeah. So the as far as like your experience in with the festival and as an artist and now as an NFT creator, you have a pretty unique perspective of the intersection of all these technologies. So, what advice would you have for people either just getting started or even people who maybe know enough about all three things to be dangerous? Like, what should they focus on from a point of view? Like, one is what if they're a filmmaker? Two is what if they're enthusiast, or where do people get started basically based upon how they're coming at the field? So it seems like you have the experience from a lot of different perspectives.
So like, you know, obviously, you know, the basics are, you know, sort of the technical basics are, you
Because I
know,
know you even like took Unity courses too, so you got to even the technical basis, not
so the technical basics for creating an NFT, you need to have a wallet with crypto in it, mostly Ethereum. There's now platforms that are built on, say, the Binance Smart Chain, where the fees aren't so high. So those wallets, you'll need BNB, and then most of them you'll need Ethereum. So the basics are setting up an Ethereum wallet. You'll go to that site, you'll upload your NFT piece, and usually it's sort of like, you know, click, drag and drop. You know, it's very, on the site itself, it's very easy. And then you'll just hit the mint button. It will send the transaction to your wallet and it will sign the transaction through your wallet. Those are like the technical basics. But as far as what can be tokenized or what should be tokenized, you know, that's very much up to the artist. You know, I'm seeing a trend of people sort of telling their personal stories with their work and just keeping it very authentic. Like, you know, because a lot of artists coming to this space have a long history of creating art and they have a long journey with it. They have a lot of stories to tell about their experiences in the art world, their experiences as a human being. And I think that's really resonating in this space at the moment. So yeah, don't be afraid to tell your stories. Don't be afraid to make it personal, and obviously share what you're comfortable with. But yeah, that does seem to be very much resonating with people.
So one of the things you mentioned is, for the, Burning Man experience, you're able to, sell the video, sell the art, sell the same piece of art you can repurpose. So from a filmmaker point of view, I'm thinking perhaps like a lot of people have production stills, or they have the scripts, they have different characters. Maybe people collect the cowboy guy you had earlier, or this
Yeah,
video.
so as far as that, you could even, as an unlockable piece of content, you could have like a unique sort of behind the scenes footage or interviews with the actors, interviews with, you know, the writers, directors, and that could be your unique unlockable content. You could even, when the movie first comes out, you could even have, so there's a limited amount of copies of the movie. So in the first month, say, only 100 people can see it. So it makes it very scarce. And, that's written into the smart contract. Only 100 people can purchase the viewing of this movie or purchase the movie. So you could do it like that. So you could make it really scarce and really exclusive if that's what you wanted to do with it. And then you could sort of release it, a couple months later to mainstream audiences. You could do it that way. You could even release augmented reality experiences. So you could have some of the characters released as augmented reality experiences. So, for example, if it was a new Star Wars movie, you could have an augmented reality stormtrooper or something like that. And it could even, the augmented reality experiences could even plug into the scenes in the movie itself. So depending on how far the technology has come, you could even have it so that you hold your phone up to the movie screen at the time that scene's playing, and then you'll get the augmented reality experience,
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Or you could have like a bunch of stormtroopers, coming across your living room or something like that. You could do something really cool with it.
Yeah, in fact, we probably even have time, now because, like people probably realize by now these are pre-recorded interviews and we're going to do the live QA later on. So since it's your idea, now it's your responsibility, Hazel. So I'll have you. So create a QR code, and during the live QA, hold it up too, and then let people during the live stream, let people take their phone out and see your AR. I know you already do that, so I'm being reasonable.
Absolutely.
I think.
Yeah. Are there any 3D modelers in there who can actually sort of mock up a character or something, and then we can send it to there's basically like a very simple app where you can send your augmented reality experiences and upload it there.
I think
and
Paul Command, you guys have all the answers for that.
Yeah, we do have a 3D modelers. We just need really a sample photo of what you need, and we'll draft it up and send it to you guys so you can augment it.
Yeah, any we can upload any 3D model, really, I think.
Yeah, it works like the QR codes. You can always hyperlink to a native or web app and have the experience here.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and then the other ideas are pretty good too. As far as the limited viewership and additional unlocks, because we are using a film festival platform this year, which allows us to to do exactly that. Even the time of day, or even geographic locking. Only certain people in certain regions can watch films. So that's something that I think a lot of filmmakers will appreciate too, to be able to monetize their work according to how they feel it's best for their film. So
there are so many possibilities. I was even thinking today, actually, I think augmented reality opens a door to really short movie experiences. So kind of short clips. You know how you get the really short stories that are basically a paragraph long? Have you heard of that short story format? I forgot what it's called. There is a name for it, but it's basically some of them are like a sentence long.
So it sounds like the TikTok version of short stories. But
it's a TikTok version, but you could have a film version of that. So it's maybe no more than 3 minutes long. Okay. And obviously,
well, I know Quibi had that type of thing, but they, maybe.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So you could condense an entire story or theme or message into a few minutes. You could have your actor coming on in augmented reality and saying some lines and having some other effects pop up.
Yeah, that's a great point, because there are open source projects out there where you can basically put a lot of data into a QR code. Mm-hmm. People are basically putting entire websites into the QR code, where it doesn't even go out to the browser, all the information. So I think you're talking earlier about having a platform, right? That people can upload 3D models to. So in that event, you already have you already have something on your phone, whether it's a plugin from a browser or an app. If we can just have the basic, maybe if we have your stormtrooper example, right? and just have the motions of the stormtrooper that the creator wants to create, or just the texture. I know you're familiar with 3D textures as a QR code, but everything, all the standard models already preloaded onto the phone. So I mean, it is a short story.
Everything would be preloaded, like everything
Yeah.
from the animation of the character to its materials and textures
Yeah,
to
like
the
standard
sound.
assets, but only have some things changeable, like what they say or their
Like
art
yeah,
textures. Yeah.
everything will be good to go. Like any platform where you can upload augmented reality experiences, all of the animations, all of the shaders, the materials, everything, they're ready to go. You don't have to do anything else with it.
Yeah. So Paul, I think you did a pretty cool translation for us. I mean, we had a Unity employee come and he did an AI art thing without coding, just dragging notes together. But he did it in Spanish for the Spanish market, and Paul translated it into English for us. So Paul, how was that experience for you? Did you have to relearn Spanish, or learn just enough Spanish to get by in Unity? Or
Uh,
see how that?
it was all like just like I don't know how I did that, but it was basically I was born in Colombia. I know Spanish as a first natural language, so I think it was that kind of like you go on a bicycle and you never forget how to ride a bicycle. It was kind of that effect, but I'm a XR producer, so I'm starting to get into 3D development and so forth. So it was that all those verticals, but it was really interesting learning all these. Unity concepts and technical things in Spanish and English. It was, almost enlightening to have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that came up, like when we had the pre talks before, before we started recording, right? We were talking to the Unity employee in English before he went to Spanish, and one of the things that we talked about is people like Hazel, right? I didn't, say Hazel specifically, but I meant Hazel. Is she came as a painter, as an artist, but she was forced to take Unity coding classes basically. So you know
My
it seems like,
knowledge of that, by
yeah.
the way, is extremely rudimentary.
Right, but still it wasn't like, so now that things are
It's sort
getting
of
to
like
be, yeah.
as and when needed. Like,
Yeah, so like Unreal Engine is known for like basically be able to use blueprints, just node-based editing. So basically, hopefully, we'll get more creatives, sci-fi filmmakers and sci-fi artists to be able to be involved in some of these
actually, I'm
new
about to get
technologies.
into creating with Unreal, I think, because I've been using a painting platform on Steam called Colory, and you can make your own brushes. The whole program was made in Unreal, and you can actually make your own brushes for the program in Unreal. So I guess I'll be learning some Unreal now.
Yeah, well, we have the head of education, Brian Pohl, as part of our festival. We'll be doing his interview, and he's on the live Q&A. So you can show the QR code can go to your Colory app then, if you show everyone. Cool, and great. So Paul, like what did I know you had some pre questions for Hazel?
Yeah, sure. Of course. How do you feel? What kind of genre would you want to go into next in terms of immersive technologies, like 360 media or augmented reality? Have you done a story in augmented reality? And if not, which type of technology would you want to express your story in next?
I actually think, as far as storytelling is concerned, I find augmented reality very interesting because it does have that parallel, that's that immediate sort of overlay onto the real world. And I've been thinking quite a lot recently about the concept of magical realism, which is actually a concept in fiction writing. And I was applying that concept to augmented reality because I was making these like little videos from the app that I was using. So I'd pop up the augmented reality experience of the art piece that I'd made and film it. And there would be this sort of weird, sort of fantastical object appearing anywhere. It could be your living room. You can take it out into nature and you can pop it up there. And it has this sort of like, this fantastical feel to it. You can make this sort of imaginary object appear anywhere. or indeed any object actually. So I was really trying to translate that concept of magical realism into the augmented reality experience. And I'm fascinated by that concept of sort of this overlay of something like imaginary onto the real world. So
So Hazel, is
kind of
it
been
on your
playing with
Twitter?
that.
I'm looking at your Twitter. Is it something we could share from your Twitter?
From my Twitter.
Or is it on some other website that's publicly? You can post it in the chat, and I'll put it on the screen if you find it.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna go find it real quick, and then I'll post it in the chat.
Sure.
Give me 1 minute.
So you guys, while we're waiting, let me share one of the things that we came up with Hazel shortly after the last Miami Sci-Fi that she was part of. So this is she created a augmented reality art game, and this is one of the things that we did. It's like creating like giraffes, basically.
Welcome to Art Hero. We're very happy that you are playing our game. Have fun and enjoy viewing some cool art.
That's her art, and we made the AI
Welcome
of
to
her
Art
painting
Hero.
talk.
Wow, that's
Welcome to Art Hero.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I showed Jurassic Park, the giant giraffes with your art.
So I don't know if
the talk.
Are you able to access that? It's an iCloud link because it's a video file. So
Sure.
You can't have a sci-fi festival without talking giraffes in AR, huh?
Right.
Super.
Yeah, it wouldn't be our film festival without that, would it?
Yeah. Let me down this now.
There is one more as well. Let me try and find that. So I think this is a shorter one. Maybe I can copy this.
All right, we'll play the first one you just showed me just now.
So there's oh, this is the one with music. Oh, okay.
Pretty
So
cool.
actually, that was a collaboration I did with an artist on TikTok. I think you can see right there. It's a TikTok video. So yeah, I teamed up with someone who made the music for it, and we turned it into a TikTok video.
Nice.
So I'll give you his info as well. So you can follow him on TikTok too. He does sort of this really cool guitar music. So I'll give you his info as well.
Sure. So I noticed, Paul, you noticed that orb, right?
Yeah.
In your Burning Man multiverse, you had the same orbs. You could walk around literally.
Yeah, the 360.
That was VR, and hers is AR. But
yeah, it's really interesting how geometry connects all these stories. The imagination and stuff. Yeah. Cool.
I'm just gonna go put the light on.
All right. So let's look at the next video she shared.
This one's fairly short, I think. So this one's without music, and you can hear all the birds in the background where I live. So it's
Yeah, I can hear the birds right now where you
yeah,
live.
I know, and
I
it's
was, I
this.
was, I was waiting for you to bring it up. Not.
So yeah, it's really cool, sort of merging between the real world and this sort of fantastical element that you've sort of superimposed. And I've always been really fascinated with superimposing something imaginary or fantastic.
Yeah, those shadows.
Overlay.
Those shadows are amazing. They really look good. The lighting when it's hitting the floor, that's really impressive.
Oh right, so all of that was actually made in Tilt Brush. So you kind of, when you're making these things, like I always try and sort of plan it out, so I know what I want to create and what effect I want it to have, and then sort of plan the piece around that. So what I did with that, I put a flat plane underneath and painted on top of the flat plane to get these light reflections. So it's almost like a stained glass window. You know how a stained glass window, it casts the light onto the floor. So I wanted to get that effect. So I sort of had to plan that into the piece.
So how would you, as a recommend for a filmmaker to be able to tell these types of stories? You know, how can they get into this type of technology?
Well, even that, right? I remember from the first sci-fi festival, that AR track that Hazel was part of. Like, remember we were showing this in the real world. People were making like real-time VFX basically for their films. So this could easily be like a space pod that's part of a story. It seems like immediately in the film.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anything you make in, whether it's tilt brush or whether it's like gravity sketch, you know, you can import it into Unity. So this can be imported right into Unity, and you can put it into your scene, into your film. So you could have an artist make some of these elements and then just drop it right into your scene. There's really no limit to what you can create in that way. You can have like these individual objects, or you could even have an entire scene in a movie made in a program like Tilt Brush or Gravity Sketch or anything like that. So as far as like the sort of magical realism thing, what you could do, you could have a character walking around like sort of in the real world. They open a door, and then it will drop you as the viewer right into something someone made in Tilt Brush, Blender, whatever scene that you've made in your various different programs you create with.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would play that. I would watch that movie or have that experience. So yeah, and it seems like it's something that it's be updatable too. You know, or even random, which makes it more fun.
You I guess,
Unexpected.
yeah, you could do that. Or you could have these augmented experiences. Like say you're filming something, and you could drop an augmented reality experience into the movie itself. So you could have one of those objects sort of appearing.
Cool. Paul, do you have any more questions for Hazel?
Yeah. Well, if Burning Man happens again this year in a virtual form, would you want to? How would you want it to? Would you participate in that in some way or another? You can answer that question. Or the other question is, how is it that to be how is it your experience to be a woman in tech, especially with extended reality, with media, art? How are you finding it to be, and how can you see, that affect, how are you wanting to see that affect the tech industry and the XR industry from your perspective?
So first of all, yes, I'm absolutely down for making more worlds and immersive experiences. I'm very much looking forward to that. And as far as, I mean, I can't really speak much about specifically being like a woman in XR. Like I just see it as like I'm just doing my thing. I'm just making, things that are in line with my vision, whether that's as, whether that's informed by my experience as a female, I don't know, but I just have certain visions in my mind that I want to create, and I just sort of follow that and there's new tech emerging all the time to help creators, fulfill their visions. And the space is moving so fast. It's really hard to keep on top of all the new tech that's coming out. But every time something comes out, I can't wait to try it. So I'm always like trying new things. Like, I found out Colory had just come out, Colory VR. So that's been fun to create with as well. So I think for myself, it's just finding ways to create, like new ways to fulfill that vision, and to just get better at saying the things that I want to say, and keep sort of upping my skill level.
Yeah, it's a good point. I've obviously, since we've been following your career from the festival point of view for the last couple of years, you everything you've done, you've kind of like, you seem to like have a lot of collaborators, and you've done remarkably well. And not even like, I forgot sometimes that there's a special category of women in tech for you, because you're just a creator from the
That's
festival
how I
point of
see
view.
myself, honestly. I just see myself as a creator. Like, I don't see myself through that lens of being a female creator or being a woman in whatever industry I'm in.
Yeah.
I just do.
Yeah, I wonder what it is though about what you're doing, because I know, like, you're pretty good even managing males and females equally, I've noticed. But like other creators that we interviewed, right? It's not as obvious, other female interviewers, but interviewees. But with you, it's like what didn't even come up actually. Yeah, I almost like something that you're doing that maybe we can't really articulate right now. Will come to us later. Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe it's something to do with like I always really try and stay true to any sort of artistic vision that I have, or artistic concept or direction that I'm going in, and that's what I try and stick to, rather than the output of my creativity being in line with my identity as a person. So maybe those things are kind of separate in me. I'm not quite sure if that's what's going on there, but I do definitely try and stay true to the creative concept that I have in my mind, and I allow it to become its own thing rather than attaching my individual identity to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. How I think with extended reality, it borrows itself to the nature of it, right? Because if you believe in the soul or the spirit, we're more than just who we are as the male or female. So it's interesting how when we start expressing in 3D, all that kind of disappears. But it's
Yeah.
like Praveen says, like there's something to that articulation of it that we can still see what's behind the creator's kind of vision. So it's really interesting how it borrows itself to that.
The other thing that it was a little bit like, Paul can attest to this, he's been in a few of these interviews already, is what's also unique about your interview, Hazel, is you cited all your sources, and you basically made it a point of mentioning all your collaborators. I'm not saying it's I'm just saying it's something we haven't seen before on the other interviewees. Like, how does that like affect you as making sure that all your collaborators get credit as well? Because
I mean,
it's not necessary per se, but you did it on your own.
I mean, I
Yeah.
recognize them as creative people as well,
Mhm.
and I think anybody who's worked on anything, deserves recognition. Even if it's like a small music clip or an appearance in a movie, they still put time and effort into it, and I personally want to see them be recognized for it. Because what they've done is valuable, not just to me, but to other people viewing the experience. And
So
I
maybe
think
that's
I'd be doing the
something.
viewers a disservice if I didn't point them out, because then those people can then go and follow them and interact with more of their content.
So maybe since that's another one of your ideas, now you're forced to implement it according to sci-fi rules. Is in the QR code for next Friday for the live stream. In the QR code, maybe you can have additional information about who made the music, who did this, and that can be an example of how blockchain can help the creative process and give people credit as well.
Yeah,
And
that's
obviously, with
definitely a
NFTs, you
good
can share revenues if you wanted to.
implementation.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, of blockchain, because then I guess you can write into the smart contract, everybody who worked on a project, gets paid for their part in it, whether it was a makeup artist or whether it was, someone holding a camera or something,
Yeah, it's especially in the film world, it's really important because you notice like the end credits, some of these movies are like half as long as the movie themselves. Even a short film can still have 20 minutes of end credits. So, from the creative, the perspective of the creative community, giving credit is I guess is very important, especially at film festivals too, because this is really like the pinnacle. A lot of people's filmmaking experience is getting their film in a film festival, and we want to recognize everyone properly. And not every viewer is going to wait till the end of a movie and watch the whole thing, but there should be a way for them, to be recognized. Yeah. So so hopefully Paul or you are going to suggest like, a trip to Mars. So at least we'll be on the hook for that too. You guys suggest that, and then we'll wait for you to invent a way to get to Mars next.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like 3D credits.
I mean, that'd be a good short film, right? We'll give you a challenge, and then we hold you to an accidentally you find a way to get to Mars. In a short film.
That would be an interesting, experience for sure. It's amazing how space is the next frontier, right? And XR could get us there for sure.
Cool. And okay, well, I think unless Paul, unless you have any more questions, we'll let Hazel have the last word, and we'll end the interview and then reconvene during the live stream next week.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah,
Hazel, you can have the last word. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. This has been a really interesting conversation. I'm really excited to see where XR goes in the future, and I think it's going to be a really important storytelling tool for people to interact with, for filmmakers to use to augment their creations as well.
Great.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot, Hazel, and yeah, good luck, and see you soon.
All right, see you soon, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.